Now, one major thing that I believe a lot of Star Wars fans can be very excited about when it comes to the future of the Star Wars franchise is the fact that we have George Lucas working very closely with Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and others to really handle the Star Wars franchise in a more successful way than ever before. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one interesting aspect of Star Wars is that, yes, we are now in a very interesting position where we have George Lucas really trying to pick up the pieces and put everything back together again to really fix everything that Kathleen Kennedy destroyed with the sequel trilogy movies, right? So, George Lucas, this is a man that really started Star Wars from the very beginning, back in 1977. A lot of fans love the guy. It's very exciting the fact that he is back working on tons of Star Wars projects, not just for Disney Plus, but also for theatrical releases such as the new Star Wars trilogy, and even the new spin-off films that are currently also in the early development phase. Now, looking at everything here with George Lucas, the thing about George is that a lot of changes really are being made as we speak behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm in order to really change exactly how they handle Star Wars. That's going to be the biggest change of all over at Lucasfilm, is how the creators are going to be pretty much, directed on how to handle the Star Wars franchise and how to respect the Star Wars fans. And a lot of that will be directed by George, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, Bob Chapek, the Disney CEO, and others that are really going to actually teach all these other creators working on other projects on how to really bring Star Wars back to the way it used to be. So, with that being said, of course, what's really intriguing involves creator George Lucas and a specific Star Wars writer of a brand new Star Wars TV show. Now, with George Lucas now helping both Disney and Lucasfilm with multiple projects for their new Star Wars universe in order to deliver a brand new mythology to Star Wars fans, it's explained that Bob Iger and Bob Chapek are so far very excited with what George Lucas is developing with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni for the new Star Wars movies and TV shows. However, it's noted that many changes have actually been happening behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm in order to regulate the Star Wars brand. As of right now, and recently, George Lucas recently fired a writer for a new Star Wars project that is currently in the early development phase. It's explained that this writer was once associated with TV shows that he worked on, such as on Showtime and even Starz. The project that the writer was working on was the Leslie Headland Star Wars TV series for Disney Plus. So, let me stop right here for a second. This once again proves that the Leslie Headland Star Wars TV show is still a complete big mess, and I would be very surprised if we're even going to be able to see this thing on Disney Plus eventually. I have a feeling that they're going to delay this, that it's not even going to come out in 2022. I feel that it's very likely to be delayed until, at minimum, 2023. With all the rewrites going on as we speak, and with all the new creators coming on board for the Leslie show, and how George Lucas has to actually regulate some of the ending episodes of this TV series. We'll get into that in just a second. It really does spell a recipe for disaster for 2022. Now, moving past this, it's noted that George Lucas recently was able to talk to Bob Chapek and took Kathleen Kennedy off the ending episodes of the project, since she actually changed a lot of things behind their backs, which allowed Lucas to do and make some major changes to the series, and who would be creating them as well. Now, this big change by Lucas was to essentially give the show a bit more substance toward the end, as it was lacking it dramatically by this unknown Star Wars writer that was hired by Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland, mind you, in order to carry their agendas in the new Star Wars series. So, let me stop right here, is that this writer, we're not quite sure who he is, but he actually once worked on Starz and Showtime. Big channels. If you're a writer from those two channels, that's a big deal. So it really makes you wonder exactly how bad of a writer could he have been. Not quite sure. It seems like that George Lucas was very unhappy with how he was actually working with Leslie on the ending episodes of this new TV series that's actually going to change the philosophy of Star Wars by George Lucas that he is now regulating, thankfully. But like I've said before, and we've been talking about this for a while, is that this Leslie TV series, I think, I don't know about you, is still very much up in the air. It really seems like that there are so many problems happening behind the scenes between Brie Larson having creative differences with Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland, to writers and directors being fired from this new Star Wars TV series by George Lucas and or the Disney CEO. So a lot of things are happening, and that's one thing to keep in mind of here, is that it may very well be a great thing after all that this either gets delayed or just completely canceled, because from what Kathleen Kennedy is doing, it would only be worse for the Star Wars universe, at least in my opinion, because of what they're trying to do. Moving on. Now, this new writer that was associated with the Leslie Headland Star Wars TV show even had creative differences with Leslie Headland, surprisingly, about the new series, which is set to introduce a brand new era to Star Wars fans around the world. It's explained that Lucas spent quite some time in order to make this decision and is going to be hiring a new writer to take care of some of the ending episodes that are going to work with Leslie Headland on the new series, which will still be the all-female-led Star Wars TV show. Now, though Kathleen Kennedy will be supervising a majority of the show, she no longer has control of the ending of the series that Lucas is now going to regulate in order to make Star Wars the best that it can be. So, George Lucas is regulating the ending episodes of this show. We're still not quite sure what the title of the show is going to be. We're going to find out more about this in the middle of 2021 next year, so it'll be interesting to see exactly what it's going to be titled and exactly how it's going to be formed by Leslie Headland, and overall, we're going to get a big look at this by the end of 2021 next year. We're actually said to have a big first look at this new TV series and some brand new details about it and where it's all going. It's going to be quite an interesting process, but I'm still not excited about this at all in any way because of the agendas, the identity politics, and just making it an all-female-led Star Wars TV series just because. If that fits the story, so be it. That's how I believe things. I don't mind if it's an all-female-led Star Wars TV show, as long as it supports it or it needs to be that way. But they're just doing this just to do this in order to just fill their agenda. That's from, what it seems like here, obviously. So, additionally speaking, alright, it's described that Kathleen Kennedy was very angry over George Lucas making these major decisions, such as firing this writer from the show, as this will actually end the series. Not just that, but also George Lucas wanted to make things clear to Bob Chapek that he is going to stay more focused on the other projects being developed by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, so that they can bring Star Wars into a more successful spot to bring back the old fans and give the fans something to look forward to. Now, Lucas firing this writer was a pretty fast process, which took around 2 weeks, that he is actually already in the process of hiring a better writer to handle the script with Leslie Headland toward the end of the show. Though it will change the ending of the series, the majority is still all left open to Kathleen Kennedy and will likely not be in favor to the hardcore Star Wars fan base. So here's the thing, and this is a very important thing that I think a lot of fans need to know, is that in no way, I think, is this show going to be a fan favorite or how it's going to be in favor of Star Wars fans that have been around since the original trilogy. Again, Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland want to make it clear that this is going to be a show that's going to be used as a tool to create new Star Wars fans. A show that is going to ignore the Star Wars fans that grew up with the originals and the prequels and other projects out there like the video games, books, novels, you name it. So, I think it's not going to feel like true Star Wars at the end of the day, regardless of George Lucas coming on board, regulating the ending episodes of these episodes for the series. I really do believe that it's not going to make all that much of a difference, because given it's 12 episodes long, that's what they're aiming for, 1 hour each, and George is going to be handling, give or take, 4 of those episodes. It's going to be a very interesting transition to see how different the first 10 is going to look like in comparison, or should I say, how different the first, 8 or so is going to look in comparison to the last 4. So, I think that, when we look at George, I think that obviously he's trying to do whatever he can do to strip Kathleen Kennedy away from her power, and he's doing just that. So, like I've said before in the past, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.